But why should you fire your worst customer? First of all, what is your worst customer? Who am I to sit here and decide what's the worst customer? I don't. You decide what's the worst customer. And guess what? You're probably the worst customer to somebody else. So don't feel like you might be exempt, but everybody determines for themselves who is their worst customer. And like I said, I can't take this too personal. We're all in this to make a buck. We're business owners. We're trying to fulfill our mission, pursue our purpose, and sometimes some things get in the way. And sometimes it could be in the name of a bad customer. I'm not saying go out and get rid of all of your customers, but there's that one customer, you people under the sound of my voice, and you are in denial if you say otherwise. There's that one person that a knot gets in your stomach every time their name or their email pops up in your box. Sometimes you let it sit there for a day or two. You're like, oh God. So you go around all the emails and let that one sit there until you've had a few drinks or until you build up enough mental aptitude to tackle it. That might be your worst customer. Let me tell you what I think, who that worst customer might be. That worst customer is you're probably not making any money on that worst customer. Causing a lot of stress, too much time, too little money. Poquito dinero, mucho trabajo. To all my Latin brothers out there. You know it when you see it. If this person belittling your staff, you have to keep changing. You assign it to one person, that didn't work out. You assign it to another one that didn't work out. It finally comes back to you. That person is kind of building their way to becoming your worst customer. When they start saying things like that, let you know they're too subjective. It's more about them than the project or the company for which they work. You're working yourself towards being that worst customer. Now, sometimes people just don't fit into your business model. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. You have a business model that has made you successful, and they just don't fit in it. Like our business model, people retain us. Some people just cannot wrap their head around a retainer. They're more like, I give you $1, you give me this bottle. That's as far as they're gonna go. They don't want to hear anything about a retainer, about hours, and if you work more hours, you pay more. If you work less out, they just can't wrap their head around. The person may not fit into your business model. Doesn't make them bad, doesn't make you bad, but it could make them your worst customer. Now you say to yourself, how did it get to you in the first place? You're not out here wearing signs saying, hey, come on in, all bad customers. Well, sometimes you get desperate. Many, we can relate to this. When you first start out your business, it seems like everybody comes in the door as the worst customer because your guard is down. You're not screening people. You're not qualifying. Then there's some people that do the bait and switch on you. They seem nice till they get in the door. There's such a thing as mission creep. Anybody in the design or services business understand that. They start out with one thing, and then by the time, as time passes, it just keeps piling on and piling on and piling on. You say, how in the heck did we get from where we started to where we are? Now, poor qualifying, poor onboarding, poor qualifying is probably the number one way you get these customers that end up being your worst customer. When they come in the door and say, look, you're the third company I've had to come to with this. Where's the red flag? You're the third company. Now, of course, you're going to be, because you got a little, a little cocky. You would shoot. Those other companies didn't know what they were doing. You come to the right place. I'm going to make all your problems go away. Those other companies were losers. That's a red flag, ladies and gentlemen. You didn't see it at the time. You might dig a little deeper. Why did you leave this other company? Or the other company before that and the company before them? You may be You may need to do a better job of gatekeeping to keep out the worst customer. Now let's put this in numbers. Let's take all this emotion and all that stuff out the way. Let's make it a numbers game. Look at the numbers. Why you want to get rid of the worst customer? I want to introduce you to something called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means because I am doing A, I can't do B. Or if I accept A when I should have done B, the difference between the two is a cost that you are actually incurring. So if you bring somebody in, they gave you $100, but they're giving you you doing $1,000 worth of work that you could have charged somebody else. That has a $900 opportunity cost, and that will put you out of business. I'm telling you, that will put you out of business. Opportunity cost. Go read up on it. I'll do a show on it, and I've probably done a show or two on it already. But that is the primary reason you should fire that worst customer, that person who's unprofitable. Now, so now that we have understood why, you might ask yourself, can you save this person? Can you redeem them? Well, yes, you can. You can try. Sometimes you find out that there may be some things that you did wrong, or you didn't do the best way you could have. So you have to go to what we call communication. Go into communication mode. Set up a meeting. Set up a Zoom. Be frank. Tell them what the problem is. You can even write a letter. I never forget when I was in Oxon Hill, this client above me, I wrote them a letter like 2 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, this is not working. I read about 3 or 4, probably about 5 of those over my course of my life as a business owner. So I don't do it lightly, but every now and then you got to fire somebody. And sometimes you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm the reason I made the mistake. But that doesn't change the outcome. One way or the other, that person got to go. Okay? Sometimes you might even assign them to a different staff member. Sometimes it is personal. So there's some ways you can do, some things you can do to try to save it before you get to the firing mode. Well, how do you fire the person? You can't just fire people. It's complicated. It's more nuanced. There's some steps. It's a process. Well, I'm going to give you some ways how you can fire somebody. Well, first one, and this is probably the most drastic, is to write the Dear John letter, as I did with the client in Oxon Hill that I was telling you about. I just wrote him a letter. Look, I'm nice, of course. I accept most of the responsibility. I said, we didn't do this. We didn't do that. It's just better that we part company. I like to nice working with you. That's one way to do it. Just write a letter. Just tell them it's not working out. But let me tell you something. The minute I wrote that letter, like a weight had come off my shoulder. It's like, God, like I didn't die to go into heaven. Now here's a more subtle way to do it. You run out the clock. Just don't renew them. You don't have to, if you're in an agreement where it's not just as simple as writing a letter or firing somebody, just run out the clock. Just don't renew. We had a client, we were at the end of the project, and the client said, look, we need some other services now. I see that you all offer. We went to your website. We see that you also do A, B, and C. I'm saying to myself, not for you. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I sent over the Dear John letter was not to get rid of what you've already done, but it was pretty much saying, look, well, we don't really have the capacity right now to handle your project. And we didn't. I didn't have the mental capacity or the physical capacity because I already knew what it was going to take. So you don't renew it. Just let it run out. That's a solo way of firing. Another way, give them their money back. Now, I know that's hard for some people. Man, you've already spent that money. Man, you sitting there with the proof, you sitting in the share that you paid, that you used the money for. Car in the parking lot with the down payment. How you gonna get that money back? You better take that car back if you have to. Sometimes the stress and the damage that it's doing to your company is not worth it. The old refund works. Man, let me tell you, I've done it. Once again, burden just lifted. Oh my goodness. It was like, I would pay that again and again and again. Folks, these are some ways that you can fire the customer. Sometimes just raise the fee. So look, there is no law under this land, particularly in the service industry, that say you have to charge customer A the same thing you charge customer B, because of a thing called nuance. Everybody's the same, nobody's the same, no project is the same. Just price them out of the market. Price them away. Sometimes I've done that and they still came back and said, damn it, I didn't raise it high enough. But that's one way to do it. Another thing you can do is do a gentle handoff. Just look, it could be a personality. It could be that you need somebody with a different business model, and go ahead and accept the blame. I'm sorry it didn't work out. It's probably us. But I know Fred over here, he does a similar service. His model is different people, different staff. Sometimes you just need a different perspective. Be glad to introduce you. That's another way to fire the customer. Now, bottom line, you have to take the preemptive strike, because whether you know it or not, they're also about to fire you. That's right. You sitting all this going back and forth, and you mad, and you stressed out, and you losing sleep and hair. Well, they're going through the same thing. But this is where it gets more malicious and insidious. You're being set up for at best, a bad review. And at worst, you may be about to be sued in civil court by this same worst customer. You're thinking about how bad they are. They're over there talking to their attorney. Do everybody a favor, including that worst customer, by getting them out of there. It's all in how you do it.